And so another year has bestowed upon us as we prepare ourselves for the end of the decade. Assuming I upload this video in time, in which case, a year has passed as we start our brand new adventure within the new decade. As we commemorate the New Year's, let us look into the past as we detail the best of what's offered to us in the year 2019 in order to prepare ourselves for another inevitable yearly roundup that is 2020. And God, was it really hard to make a top 10 list this year because there's just way too many good games this year.
You think I can make a top 10 list out of all of these?
I know I say this every year, but this year in particular, I've clocked in probably over 40 different games, and with the exception of this, and oh god, most of these games I played were legitimately good. There's just simply too much for me to talk about, and I don't want one single game to be overshadowed. Now, I know that a lot of people think that since this is the beginning of the new decade, it probably would have made a lot more sense to talk about a game each year within the previous decade. And while we can debate on what year was the best for the decade, 2017, I just want to focus on 2019. While it may not be the best year of the decade, I felt as though this was the one that I was most involved with. Maybe it's because it's the year I finally got out of college, therefore more games to play or something, I don't know. But I did play a lot of games this year and I do want to talk about them. For the list of games I will be talking about, there will really be two rules. The first one being I won't include any remasters or ports. Remakes are fine, but if the game looks like the original or plays like the original, I'm not including it. With the exception of one game. I know this will break the rules, but I honestly love this game so much I just wanted to include it. And secondly, I have to own the game, whether it's a physical or digital copy. I found it way too easy to include games I played at a friend's house but not own the game. This explains why games such as Borderlands 3 or Call of Duty Modern Warfare are not on the list. I enjoy playing them, just not enough to buy them for 60 bucks. If there is a game out there released this year that caused you guys some enjoyment, leave a comment down below. I'd love to see the games I might have missed out on. I'll be going from alphabetical order, starting with the letter A and ending with the letter U. Yes, I know that that's not the last letter, but I didn't play anything this year that started with the letter Z. Now, for those who really want to see me make a top 10 list, I will do a rapid fire top 10 at the end of this video. But for now... Platinum Games has never disappointed me unless your names are Legend of Korra and Ninja Turtles. Astral Chain is an exhilarating hack and slash where you can control two characters, your created male or female police officer, and your JoJo/Persona, that fight alongside you during your crusade to stop crime and seek justice. The story is also pretty hype too, being over-the-top action with twists and turns that'll make you go, just happened? The one thing I do have to comment on are the controls. They're not bad by any means, but trying to control these two entities at the same time is the equivalent of speedrunning a Pokemon game. It takes a lot of time to get used to at first, but once you do, it brings an entirely new perspective on character action games you never thought were possible. Cleaning up this gunk is stupid though. This thing is required for 100% completion and it's the only thing that's putting me off from doing so. Ever played that one shine sprite from Super Mario Sunshine where you have to clean up the hotel? Well, imagine that in every single level. It's boring. Oh well, the game is still worth playing even through those flaws. The boss battles are so much fun to play through, the investigation adds another expertise to the puzzle solving, and the characters I've seen in this game are written very well. Atelier Ryza, Ever Darkness, and the Secret Hideout. My god, someone needs to proofread that title. It's a fun classic turn-based JRPG with an amazingly likable character and a simple story that reminds me a little bit of Earthbound. It's just a bunch of kids seeking adventure. Well, mostly Ryza, since she's the main protagonist, and my goodness, she is so precious. She always has such passion and energy for whatever she wants to overcome, whether it's studying alchemy or shouting at a barrel. These bullies over here who apparently control the town's water supply are such assholes that you just gotta love to hate them, just as much as our main protagonist. Oh, you kids think you're so all that just because your parents own a necessity for human life? Well, why don't I just steal it away from you? Then you'll see who have the last laugh.
3 hours later.
Huh. Wow, this is actually a lot of water. I think I might have a problem. Gameplay consists of RPG elements with some implementations of Paper Mario or South Park, where depending on your timing, you can gain some extra damage. Unfortunately, I haven't gone too far within the game yet. I'm still pretty early on in the game. But I think this is one of those games where if I continue playing, it'll still satisfy me throughout 2020. I mean, seriously, what games in 2020 are gonna distract me from playing this game? I am never going to beat this game apparently. Yes, the reimagining of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. It was actually this game that I wanted to revisit the game, but whether or not I like Castlevania or Bloodstained more, regardless of whatever you play, they're both fantastic games. Ritual of the Night is pretty much like Symphony of Night, classic style Metroidvania with platforming bliss and RPG-like mechanics full of exploration and combat. You have multiple different weapons that play differently, so it's worth experimenting which one you like. A little bit of a shame that the whip doesn't act similar to how Bloodstained Curse of the Moon plays, but there's still plenty of other weapons that fill in the role if you seek more similar playstyles. You guys like Dark Souls? I mean, I don't actually know. I can't look past the TV screen or mobile phone you're watching this out of. But if you do like Dark Souls, then you'll love Code Vein. Assuming you like anime as well. The art style is clearly a lot more cartoony compared to any Dark Souls-like game, but the story is still equally as dark. You attempt to gain back humanity by restoring blood bead trees and memories, saving your friends and your friends' friends from an apocalyptic suffering, combining this of course with the exploration aspects of the game with its heavy stamina-based character action combat, and of course, hard difficulty. It wouldn't be a Dark Souls-like game if it's not for its difficulty. I managed to accidentally skip a section of this game by falling down this cliff and living. Am I a speedrunner now? What really makes me want to continue this game really are the characters. Some of them being the most engaging characters with vividly tragic backstories like Yakuma with his friend Emily, or Mia with her brother Nicola. Something I gotta appreciate are these remembrance scenes where your character walks past flashbacks and see a static glimpse of what happened during the event with nothing else aside from the background and the superb voice acting. I think it's these segments where the voice actors have free reign and show us what they've got because they know how to emote such tragedy and despair from their vocal cords. Did I mention this game has waifus? I'm sure if you have eyes, you can see that, but damn do the people at Bandai Namco know how to make beautiful fictional women. From the stern but caring Mia, the mysterious Aurora of Io, and the mechanical scientist Coco. Wait a minute, that's not Coco! I mean, maybe if you're into furries, but... This is hands down the best racing game I have ever played. The controls feel so perfect despite the B-button being accelerate. With so many playable characters from not just the Crash Bandicoot universe, but also guest appearances from Spyro in the game, along with consistent free updates monthly, including even brand new characters and entire racetracks. I'm honestly amazed by the fact that this game was only launched at $39.99 US. This game is well worth the price of admission with its never-ending replayability. From its local and online multiplayer to a story mode that's recreated from the first Crash Team Racing game. With so many collectibles to get, I can see myself playing through this game for the entirety of the Switch's lifeline, or until an even better sequel for this game comes out. It's a real shame this game doesn't have crossplay though. I would have loved to play this game with everyone else that doesn't own this underpowered portable console. And the fact that there's no PC port feels a little off-putting too. But you wanna know what's even worse than that? The one major flaw that's making me rethink of this as a perfect game? Microtransactions. This is the one major downside of the game that I have to point out, and it's ridiculously shady how Activision promised us that there won't be any microtransactions, only to include them 1 month after the game's release. The game doesn't really need it honestly, as grinding for Wampa coins are pretty easy if you play the game naturally, but it's still a shame that they even have to include this poison of feature on what is otherwise a perfect racing game. Okay, I know there's a lot of divisive opinions on this game, and I get it. Chapters are really long, the gameplay doesn't get any different, and the BB could go screw itself with its amount of excessive crying, this little tear-tuck muster. But I assure you, I legitimately enjoy going through the game, especially just to see the insanity that would have come up for our dear Sam Porter Bridges. I didn't think the gameplay got all that repetitive, at least until after Chapter 2, where, let's be honest, most of you guys probably stopped playing since then. Afterwards, they actually bring some new things towards the table so that it's a lot more harder to organize your packages with the threats of mules and these ink block creatures. Now, don't think that this game gets unnecessarily hard for a reason. There are some upgrades that will grant you further tech to make deliveries a lot more easier, like constructing vehicles or bridges. And the way they implement these online features are very nice too. It definitely feels like you're helping each other out delivering packages from one place to another, and the best part is you don't even need PlayStation Plus to do so, it's all free. The game has Monster Energy drink, and it loves to shove that thing up your face all the time.
Seriously, do these people know that advertisements like these don't actually work? Just because a real-life product placement is in the game doesn't mean that we're gonna actually start buying it. You know what I'm saying? By the way, did you know that Devil May Cry 5 is best played on Xbox One?
Devil May Cry is back and better than ever, with the hack and slash engine so refined and improved from Devil May Cry 4 and its previous iterations. It also helps that they officially retconned DMC Devil May Cry from canonicity. Legit, did anyone actually enjoy this game? I mean, story-wise, of course. The gameplay is actually not that bad, but did anyone actually enjoy the story of the game? Nero is a whole lot of fun with his new prosthetic arm. He's able to equip various different abilities such as combo extenders or a Mega Buster. Dante is a whole lot of fun too. Not only does he keep his 4 different fighting styles, but he also gets an array of new weapons such as this motorcycle blade for maximum carnage, or this Michael Jackson hat where poverty is all the rage. And unfortunately, V, the newcomer of the group, is the only character that I feel wasn't fun. He's too button mashy and most of his levels are just too easy to play. He seems interesting having 3 different spirit animals fight for his side, but this makes it so that V can stand on the sidelines while his buddies just do all the work for him. But even so, the fact that all of Nero and Dante segments along with their boss battles are so much fun, I can easily forgive it. This game has the right amount of difficulty, and if you're itching for more of a maddening experience, there's even harder difficulties for you to hone your skills. Yeah, this is the remaster game I was talking about. I'm glad that I started playing this game because it makes me look forward to playing the rest of the series. The story is just that good, the characters are also entertaining, and the dramatic moments are dire as the villains of the game are legitimately a threat. What I like the most about the game is the environment and the villagers who inhabit it. I love seeing all the different cultures of this game and how they're represented. What helps even further is the amount of backstory the developers managed to cram that showcases the emotional side, whether it's through triumph, sorrow, or jealousy. This game really knows how to pull your heartstrings. Special props to the music department as well. This is the type of classic JRPG music that I can never get tired of. Now the combat is a little mixed for me. On one hand, I think it's fine, but on the other hand, it doesn't really change. Most of the battles are pretty much the exact same for the majority of the game. It does ooze that classic JRPG style of gameplay, and I feel that might turn off some people. But if you don't mind the turn-based battle system, this is definitely the game for you. I'd recommend checking this out if you can.
Reach for my hand.
Gonna be honest, I was a little skeptical about this game at first. In fact, from its reveal trailer, I sorta didn't think it was gonna be that interesting. But as more trailers show up revealing more of the gameplay and the dramatic shift of the story, I started to become a lot more excited for the game. So I put it into my Switch for the first time and Jesus Christ, so that's what it's like to be exiled from social life? I got absolutely hooked with the game and I wanted to continue further the longer I played, with level design so intricate adding more difficulty towards the battles and characters you start really caring about as they fight along your side. And outside of the war field, teaching your students how to battle and level up their class and weaponry leads to a lot of diverse ways to level up your students. One thing I do have to critique though is that the genders of the students seem to dictate what kind of class they can be, and I find that too restrictive. I would have loved to see a female brawler or a male Pegasus Knight. Speaking of the students, I think the way they balance each student per house works very well. There's always a positive and a negative character for each house, and it makes your decision to picking that house a lot more important. And if you want to recruit specific students from a different class, you gotta invest in so much time in either your own stats or the social links of the students you want to join your class. And even then, not every single character is recruitable like the main 3 leaders of each house and their retainers. It kind of feels as though you're playing 3 different Fire Emblem games since each house has its own story and it's so expansive. It makes you really want to replay the game over and over again just to see the story from another house's perspective. As of now, I finished the Blue Lions route and on my way to beating the Black Eagles route, and once I'm done, I can't wait to see the Golden Years and what they have to offer. This is a pretty damn fun game and another indie hit of the year. Similar to Atelier Ryza, Indivisible is an RPG, however, unlike the timing-based battle system, this game goes for more of a fighting game approach, where you can combo the opponents with your allies adjacent to the button prompts. Each face button in combination with a direction activates a string of combos for you to perform to your opponents, Outside of battle, it's another Metroidvania-like gameplay with exploration and hidden goodies to seek. The story is amazing. It stars a young soldier named Darren Turner, starring Justin Bruning, being deployed in military service for Iraq. Wait a minute, that's the plot for Indivisible the movie. Google lied to me. The actual story stars a young girl named Ajna in search for revenge after the destruction of her village. She also has the ability to absorb people and teleport them into a separate dimension inside her mind, using them to battle alongside you whether they like it or not. Does anyone get some major Lethargia vibes from Rosby?
You are the grossest, most disgusting person I've ever met in my life.
Now, I have not dived deep into the game unfortunately, but I imagine it will be a game I'm willing to continue even playing beyond 2019. And hey, getting the Platinum Trophy looks pretty easy, so might as well add it to the collection. You've got some competition, Hannah Montana. Finally, a game from the Yakuza universe I actually played the year it released, and I'm glad I did too. Judgment is a dramatic thriller filled with tension, suspense, and a little bit of goofiness sprinkled in from time to time. If you played any of the Yakuza series, I'm sure this game fits right off your alley. The beat 'em up sections are as spectacular as ever, bringing some over-the-top action with its heat moves, tons of side activities, side quests, and extra detective duties, although I will have to admit the tracking missions are pretty damn exploitive. You can get away with a lot during the tailing missions. It's pretty absurd and makes the game a little bit too easy. Even with those flaws, I still find myself enjoying all I can whenever I solve mysteries with my side cases. I can find a panty thief, stop an apocalyptic beef crisis, do some ghost busting apparently. This game has it all. I got 4 girlfriends and not one of them knows each other. I am going to hell. The 2 Kingdom Hearts games I enjoyed in the series were Birth by Sleep and Kingdom Hearts 2, and thankfully Kingdom Hearts 3 manages to combine both games with a little bit of flow motion from Dream Drop Distance and make an over-the-top hack-and-slash game full of spectacle and bedazzlement. Exploring each Disney world does yield some mixed results for me. On one hand, worlds like Toy Story and Big Hero 6 actually expand the story, making them stand out more than their movie counterparts. On the other hand, Frozen and Tangled gave me the same issues I had with the previous Kingdom Hearts games, where they were just abridged versions of the movies. Though the minigames they had were pretty fun, and even special mentions to Pirates of the Caribbean, where they went on full-blown Assassin's Creed on us and gave us an amazing pirate ship to pilot. Story-wise, for Kingdom Hearts, it has a lot of heart and energy. The friendship spiel that makes the story so cheesy and cringeworthy honestly are pretty endearing. Even as someone who dislikes the stories, I can't help but smile whenever something positive happens. That being said, the ending was completely rushed. Yeah, I'm sure this will be more expanded upon for DLC when January hits for PlayStation, and February for Xbox for some reason. But as it stands, without spoiling too much, every conflict just seems to be resolved all of a sudden with no build-up or climax, and the special ending clearly hints at a sequel to the game, so I guess I'll have to wait for that game for the plot holes to be resolved. Oh well, the game is still great, and it's still a fun game to give your fix of beating up the Heartlesses. Alright guys, it's official. I'm a degenerate. Koikatsu Party, for those who have no idea what the game is all about, is a high school simulator where you are the only boy in an all-girls school, with a create a character function so that you can pretty much populate the school grounds with all your fascinating creations. There's an actual story behind this too, believe it or not, where the story important characters are along the mix. And these are some of the most genuine characters as well, with their own sets of goals and struggles. Of course, you most likely don't care about that, you're after the sex scenes, aren't you, little perverts? Yep, I just put a hentai game on the best list of 2019, and I'm not ashamed of it. I feel as though there has been a lack of fighting games this year, but thankfully Mortal Kombat 11 released this year to save us from the drought. The fighting engine has been refined and improved, having 2 separate meters for offensive and defensive plays, alongside customizable movesets that are not too restrictive, although I had to point out that getting those custom moves alongside different costumes and outfit gears can take a while. The best way I can do this is of course going through the crypt, which unfortunately is too grind heavy for me to deal with. Now, I have not gone back to the crypt since then, and I've heard that they patch it out so that the grind is not as tedious, but the early experiences I had was an issue for me, alongside being political apparently. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the Get Woke ending in Jax's arcade mode seems like it's pandering, and the fact that the female character designs are purposely covered while the male designs are sexualized, reek of double standards. But the brutal violence is still there, the gruesome fatalities are still amazing to view, and the story mode is pretty entertaining. Well, until the ending, but I won't spoil it too much. Not gonna lie, this barely got into the best category, but I'm inclined to still showcase its positives, mostly because I did have a lot of fun with this game locally. The fighting game engine is just that good. It's so much fun to play through this with your friends despite all the issues surrounding it. If I have to give one final warning though, don't get the Switch version. I think you can tell graphically that this is the Switch version I'm playing, and yeah, it looks pretty bad. The game also doesn't hit a constant 60 FPS either, which can lead to input lag. And for a system that's built for portability, the fact that you have to connect online all the time in order to play the game in the first place is really dumb. Now, I'm not sure what the PS4, Xbox One, and PC versions are like in terms of DRM policies, but I'm sure they are way better experiences than the Switch version. I'd recommend getting those versions instead, especially on a sale. Oh boy, looks like Mortal Kombat is not the only one that's gonna get controversial. Okay, I get it. The fact that half of the Pokédex is gone is pretty bad. The graphics can look pretty low res from time to time. The frame rate in the wild area is pretty bad, and I get all those critiques. But at the end of the day, it's still a fun Pokemon game that you can enjoy playing through. A Pokemon trainer being the very best is still in the spirit of this game, with 2 different rivals, and I think they're well done. Sure, Hop takes some time to improve since at first all he says was that he plans on being the best while proceeding to get his ass kicked. But once he gets into his depressional phase, he starts to grow as a character and questions whether or not he's worthy of being the best. Even if you hate Pop, you can't deny Beidei's the rival we needed. Something I always hated about previous Pokemon rivals were that they didn't really feel like rivals, they just felt like best friends that sometimes feel too friendly or don't care about Pokemon training. Beidei is a douchebag, and I love him for that. He's legitimately a threat with his arrogant attitude. It makes you really want to rub it into his face every time you beat him. And yes, that is a he, I had to double check. Also, I feel like I'm the only one who liked the new Pokemon introduced in this game. I feel the Thanos Snap of the Pokemon entries were kind of a benefit as we were able to focus on the newer Pokemons that were introduced in the game. And some of them are still designed very well, from the starters to the newcomers. I honestly can't hate this game at all, I really enjoyed it. I'll get the elephant out of the room right now. Yes, this game looks like a mobile game. Graphically, even after the patches, it still looks low res, not mind the fact I own the Switch version. And yes, the roster at launch was very bare bones for a 3-on-3 fighting game. But if you're able to look past all that, you'll still get an amazing 3-on-3 fighting game, with combos that surprisingly feel so good and a somewhat beginner-friendly way of introducing the concept of fighting games to new players, but hard to master mechanics for those who are willing to put the effort into it. Plus, this is one of the few games that has crossplay. Switch, Xbox One, and PC owners can fight against each other, growing the fanbase more and getting more friends to play alongside if you two happen to own different consoles. No love for PS4 though, unfortunately. I guess that's the one thing Sony's been lacking this year. Just saying this right now, if you like Marvel vs. Capcom or Dragon Ball FighterZ, this is another game to add to the collection. A remake that stands alone as its own game, and not only does it do the original justice, but it may even be better. From its horror experiences to its masterful gameplay of conservation and limitation, the game forces you to use ammo and herbs more consistently, with a story that's just as much of a thriller, presented better with its modern take on the original story. And it helps that graphically the game looks ugly. Not ugly as low res or anything, but ugly as in it looks disturbing, gory, and downright sinister with its harsh lighting. Something I have to appreciate is how seamless the game is when it's rendering cutscene and gameplay. You will not see a single loading screen aside from the beginning of the game when booting it up, or when you die. And trust me, you will die a lot in this game, as the difficulty is downright unforgiving at times if you choose the hardest difficulty. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is an absolute lie. I die more than twice in this game. This is false advertisement right here. Yep, it's another Dark Souls game, and of course it makes way more sense this time since the developers are From Software. This is the game I unfortunately got way later into, so I couldn't play much of it, and if I have to be honest, I'm probably not going to be able to continue since that because of that. From the time I did play through it, I had a whole lot of fun and can respect the amount of commitment it takes to get into the game. It's a From Software game after all, and of course, that means the sheer difficulty is off the wazoo. Now, the one negative I have to comment on about this game is the voice acting. Something about the way the characters talk feels so robotic.
Were you gravely injured? Afterward?
After what?
Do you not remember that night?
I do not.
No. We'll talk about it later.
And yes, I played with the English dub, sue me you weebs. It seems as though every time they finish their lines, the next line starts up with no pause or tension. This is not how normal people talk. I don't see myself going through the grind and continuing the game, honestly. It's just that hard. But I'll still showcase it, and if you're into this sort of game, all I can say is good luck. Slow down there, believe it or not, this is actually a good Star Wars game. Those two letters on the logo might deceive you, but this is a pure single-player experience with no microtransactions and made in Unreal Engine 4. Now that last bit may not seem like much in hindsight, but this is EA we're talking about. Most people say that this is another Dark Souls-like game, and to a certain point, it is with its respawning enemies after a bonfire, or in this case meditating. But in truth, it's nowhere near as difficult as any of the From Software games can make. Now, this is coming from someone playing at Jedi Master difficulty, which is the second hardest difficulty in the game. I'm sure if I played this on Grandmaster mode, my opinion would vastly change. But even with those classifications, I honestly chalk this up more like a 3D exploration game, borrowing Metroid Prime's scanning function with most Metroidvania's collection. This honestly shocked me since I don't think I've ever played a 3D Metroidvania game in forever. Or even ever for that matter. Sure, you can follow the guided pathway, but it's honestly a lot more fun to explore different worlds or sections of each planet. I remember going to Dathomir and getting my butt kicked constantly, but I got this double-ended lightsaber as a reward, and it brought me a new fighting style that I don't think I would have gotten if I didn't explore there. It also helps that the story is engaging with characters you care about and new characters introduced in the story that you grow attached to once they join your group. If I had to improve on this game, and this is more of a nitpick than anything, but every so often there's a single frame during a cutscene that always seems to be some inconsistency with it, such as character pop-ins out of nowhere or sudden lighting changes. Like I said, it only happens for about one frame, but it's enough for it to be noticeable, especially if it happens in nearly every cutscene. It also doesn't help that sometimes the frame rate can tank down to 50 frames per second, making my button prompts nullified. I'm sure the Steam version would have been a lot more preferred since the game runs flawlessly from what I've heard, but the thought of making an Origin account is the equivalent of contracting gonorrhea. I also would have liked it if the villains had more of a presence within the game. I feel they're pretty bland and basic. Of course, I have not actually beaten the game yet, as this is another game I've obtained Christmas Day, and hey, who knows, maybe they'll start getting interesting the further I play the game. Until then, I can't wait to continue my journey to revive the Fallen Order. Ah yes, Super Mario Maker, a series that appeals towards the younger demographic, yet the level design makes you want to bite a bullet. What can I say? If you like Mario Maker, or any game modes in the Mario series presented in this game, Super Mario Maker 2 will give you a non-stop endless fun. Yeah, sure, the online is trash, and it still is, but the amount of community built levels that actually curate to trim down the bad levels and organize them by different categories, this is definitely a lot more cohesive in terms of user experience, and a huge improvement from Super Mario Maker 1's list of shovelware levels. Creating levels is still fun as ever, even if it's not left-handed friendly. And if you're not the creative type, you can always enjoy the amount of infinite levels the game has thanks to its online community. Of course, if you're not into dying a billion times, there's actually a single-player story mode that helps the player figure out how to make levels. These are some very well-designed beginner-friendly levels that I'm sure will inspire some newly developed game designers to make some levels. Go ahead, prove yourself that you can be the best level designer. As long as you don't troll us with an endless amount of entrapments or a leap of faith, I'm sure you'll do fine. This is such a basic concept, yet it's done so well. If you tell me back in 2017 when the Battle Royale craze was getting that big that Tetris will be joining the genre, I would have told you that that was a horrible idea. But here we are, and not only is it the exact opposite of what I thought, but it's amazingly addicting to boot. It's Tetris, so it's pretty much exactly how you could imagine it, but including the competition of 99 other players you had to battle against to become number 1. And the fact that it's a free game that's worth a Nintendo Switch Online subscription, honestly, I do suggest playing it, especially if you're into these type of puzzle games, and think that you're the best Tetris player known to man. And lastly, we have Untitled Goose Game. You play as a goose, and you're an asshole. That's honestly the best description I got for this game. You're a goose causing mayhem to the fine townspeople in Cityville. I don't think this place has an official name. England, maybe? There is some slang I don't recognize. You have a set of objectives to do, and as you do them, hilarity ensues. This is the type of slapstick humor that's childish, sure, but still brings out the kid in me. I mean, not like that kid over there, like, seriously, dude? It's just a honking goose. He's not gonna do anything bad to you. I stand corrected. And by stand, I mean fall down flat to the asphalt. Somewhat wish there was more to the game since I do think it's a little too short. I would have liked more objectives or more areas to go through. The bonus challenge is great and all, but I still want more. Then again, the game is cheap, so for a single playthrough, I think you'll enjoy what's to offer.
Oh man, that was a lot of games to cover, but thankfully, I believe I covered the majority of the games that were released this year, so I won't be expecting any comments telling me why this game didn't make it on the list, or this game didn't make it on the list, or this game, or any of these Switch games, or what about this remaster, or apparently there's another Resident Evil 4 port!
And now for a quick rapid fire of my top 10. Number 10, Astral Chain. The game barely made it through the list, but the combat is legitimately that much fun. Number 9, Kingdom Hearts 3. It's basically Kingdom Hearts 2 and Birth by Sleep combined. Number 8, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Well done, EA. Please don't screw up the next one. Number 7, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. This is a game I'll play for a long time. Number 6, Bloodstain Ritual of the Night. A Metroidvania done well that includes a diverse selection of weapons and playstyle. Number 5, Judgment. Non-stop action combat with a thrilling story containing Yakuza. So, pretty much Yakuza. But you're a detective. Number 4, Code Vein. It's anime Dark Souls, what's not to like. Number 3, Devil May Cry 5. An amazing true-to-form Devil May Cry game with an over-the-top action, fantastic boss battles, and an entertaining cast of characters as always. Number 2, Fire Emblem 3 Houses. Tactical RPG at its finest, with gripping characters and 3 separate story modes that feature new experiences for each story. And number 1, Resident Evil 2, a true form to horror games and an even fun video game to boot. It's just simply amazing. Hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry I didn't release this in January 1st. I had a family trip to go through. Anyways, see ya!